This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone, Amod this side. So, as part of free automation crash course, in this particular session, we are bringing an introductory session on Cypress. Okay, so if you if you go for any interview or if you go for any automation profile, right? So you'll see the maximum crowd are coming for the Selenium projects, right? And as everyone knows that Selenium needs a lot of coding. Even if someone asks you like, can you start scripting from the first hour? So using Selenium you cannot do actually. You need to spend time to set up the framework. Okay, so there are so many things with the Selenium. There are many other frameworks are coming which is based on Selenium, but still those are not popular. But if you see about the Cypress, so it is like growing day by day, and as they are saying that it's much better than Selenium and it can be seen as a replacement of Selenium. Okay, so we are not sure of the future, but if you learn it now or if you have basic idea about Cypress, how it works and why we should use, so it may have it will add more advantage or more weightage to your resume as well, and it will also keep separate from the crowd of Selenium. Okay, so the purpose of this particular session will be like Giridhar will give you idea that how can you start with the Cypress, and later you can explore it more. Or in if we think, then we can plan some sessions on some individual topics. So those things we have in mind. So let us start with the introductory session on Cypress, and hopefully we'll get the idea like why Cypress is better than Selenium, or why you should go for Cypress instead of using Selenium and all. Okay, so he will also explain like what are things you need, or maybe what technical what programming language you need, or how much you need to be good in JavaScript or Nodejs and all to go with the Cypress. Okay, so let's welcome Giridhar Rajkumar, who will start presenting the screen, and he will take the session from now. Okay, yeah. So Giridhar, it's on you now. You can start. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amod. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Wonderful. First of all, thank you so much, Amod, for inviting me over to give a crash course session on Cypress to this wonderful forum. I'm very much honored to be part of this particular forum, in fact. So my name is Giridhar Rajkumar, and I'm a test automation consultant. So I've been in this industry for over a decade now, and have been exploring multiple test automation tools, right from Selenium, UFT, Test Project, Catalan, and name it. I've just at least tried doing some POCs. But from the implementation point of view, my major area or my major focus is from Selenium and Cypress. So having said this, off the work, I'm a Cypress ambassador, where I just go talk about Cypress tool across multiple meetups and multiple conferences and evangelize the features that Cypress offers us to the audience, and in fact help them out in implementing the Cypress in their respective teams or their organizations. And I'm the founder of the testershub.info website as well, where you will be able to see 200 plus test automation tools that are available in the market, and you have all the lists of pros and cons of each and every tool over there. So it's a community tool where many testers like you and me can go and update the pros and cons of the particular tool to help others to make sure whether they can adapt that solution or that particular tool as part of their regular work. And I have my own blog where I write about multiple test automation tools that are available. I write reviews and I write a couple of technical articles about Cypress as well. So in case if you want to know more about Cypress, you can just visit this particular blog where I have written multiple articles. So having said this, let's get into today's agenda. We will not have more than probably, like, I'll try to wind it up between 45 minutes and 60 minutes. We will try to have question and answer. We'll try to have, I mean, in the sense, we will try to give importance to the Q&A session maximum so that you will be able to understand more. So first thing first, we will start with what is Cypress, and we will slowly get into the features of Cypress, like different types of features that Cypress offers us and which one will suit us and how we can leverage it to our project. and then we will slightly get into the demo. But before that, we will also look on the differences between Selenium and Cypress, and which tool you can prefer for your particular requirement. And then we will deep dive into a demo where we will be creating a framework right from the scratch, and we will slowly get into writing the code. And then we will end off that particular demo. You will be able to understand what exactly Cypress is, how to install it, and then how you can write scripts based on Cypress as well. And then we will look into the benefits as well on how Cypress might benefit you if you start adapting according to your requirement. And then, like Amod said, we will have a Q&A session at the end. So in case if you have any questions, please scribble it down. We will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end. So having said this, we will start getting into get to know what is Cypress actually. So basically speaking, we have come across web applications, right? We do use web applications on daily basis. We do test the web applications as well. But what is Cypress actually? So Cypress is another UI-based web automation testing tool that is available in the market, but it majorly focuses from the modern web technologies perspective, like applications built on top of React.js or Angular.js, etc. So basically speaking, I know that Selenium is a legacy tool. It is more. It gives. I mean, it is more reliable at this point of time. But we should also understand that in this market there are other non-Selenium based tools are also evolving, like Cypress, Puppeteer, Nightbot.js, etc., which many organizations have started adapting it because of its nature, where developers can also start using it actually. So as a tester, I really appreciate this particular tool, the Cypress, where it offers lots and lots of features that are common for developers as well as testers actually. So basically, Cypress is developed for testers, but the features that it offers can be utilized by testers as well to the maximum. You and me are SDETs now, right? We are a software developer, engineer, and test, right? So we are SDETs now, and it is our responsibility to do deep dive into what test automation, and we should not stop where we just automate the UI alone, right? So we need to get into mocking the service or API testing and combining API testing with UI automation and so on and so forth, right? So this particular tool helps us out. So this particular tool helps us out in doing all three stages of the automation pyramid, right? So it also runs inside the browser. So what it means is there is no middle layer between your scripts and your browser. So if you take Selenium, we will just deep dive into this particular topic during our differences slide. But again, if you take Selenium, we have a central, we'll be having a middle layer called the driver manager, or like it's a JSON wire protocol that is in between, which tries to interact with the browser. But again, if you take Cypress, the architecture is totally different. So it interacts directly with the browser, right? And then it is a great alternative for the Selenium at the moment. Though Cypress is very young, it has been first developed in 2017, if I'm right. The beta version was released. But again, within this 4 years span of time, it has evolved a lot. And its major focus is from the modern web applications perspective. So just in case if your organization or if your project is dealing with modern web technologies, I think Cypress is one of the best options that you can adapt. But again, there are a couple of limitations with Cypress as well. So in that case, Selenium can be a great alternative. I'm not saying that Cypress is better than Selenium, but as a consultant, what I'm going to tell you is it's you who has to decide which tool is better suiting your requirement, right? And then coming back to this one, so Cypress is highly reliable, and the execution is much faster, and its flakiness level is absolutely less, and it is an end-to-end testing tool. So when I say end-to-end testing tool, I mean to say that this particular Cypress can be used to do API testing as well. So whereas if you take Selenium or other UI-based testing tool, you will not be able to do API testing. You might need to integrate it with some other third-party frameworks or tools to do that particular API testing and all. But Cypress has its own inbuilt features to do API testing as well, and to some extent using just for unit testing as well. So you can just try to cover most of the region, all three layers of the automation pyramid completely. So if you see here, so this proves that Cypress is becoming one of the most popular test automation tool because it's been downloaded almost 1 million times every week by different users. And this particular tool is well received by developers actually, because it is much faster to script and it is having very less flakiness when compares to Selenium. And if you see, many developers will not be happy in using tools like UFT or Selenium because of its nature, actually, because of its flaky nature as well. But Cypress has very less, percentage of flakiness, and that's the reason why developers really love to use this particular Cypress tool. And with the testers as well, where we can just rely on this particular tool, because personally, I have experienced one scenario where Cypress is much better and highly reliable when it comes to flakiness when compared to other tools in the market, actually. Then we will slowly get into the features, what it can tell. So like Amod said a couple of minutes back, like when we initially start a framework from the scratch, right, we need to pull many packages, or we need to we need to configure multiple packages to that particular framework to make it more robust, right? So say, for example, you might need to, pull the test framework, whether it is Mocha, Jasmine, or QUnit, or Karma, or whatever it is. And then you have to, pull assertion libraries like Chai or Expect.js or something. And then you need to install Selenium. And you just have to use the Selenium wrappers like WebDriver, Protractor, Nightwatch, so on and so forth. And of course, you need to add additional libraries as well to do assertions or something like that, right? So as a package, as a framework, if you talk, you need to pull all different set of packages and make it as a one particular framework for your own use. But here is a challenge. So there might be a situation where one particular package might, one particular package's version might get upgraded, whereas the other package will not be supported for that particular, for that particular version, right? So these kind of issues will come, and I have personally faced it as well. And we need to constantly maintain probably like N-2 version of that particular package that is available in the market. So that is one big pain for us when it comes to integrating and developing our own framework. But if you take Cypress, on the other hand, it is an all-in-one testing framework, which means it has everything in it. It has a test runner, it has the test framework, it has the assertion library, it has the mocking feature, it has stubbing, and everything within one particular package. But it doesn't consume Selenium at all, which means the architecture what Cypress is using is completely built from the scratch, which means it doesn't deal with WebDriver at all. So there is no WebDriver included in Cypress. That's the reason why we say that Cypress directly interacts with the browser, and it is much faster when compared to other tools. So having said this, the setup of this particular framework is absolutely easy. You will see during the demo how easy it is to set up this particular framework. The way that we can set up this particular framework is using one single command, that is npm install Cypress. So with this particular command, we will be able to create or install this particular Cypress framework directly. One thing what we need to know is Cypress uses JavaScript. The thing is, like, it doesn't make use of Java, C# or any other languages. It does support only JavaScript because it is a reasonable, it is highly, it's quite natural, because most of the modern web technologies are using JavaScript, and Cypress is also using JavaScript for that because it's developer friendly. And then with one particular command, we can install the entire Cypress, and then we can write the tests very quickly, which means that we don't have to worry about any other extras like instantiating Chrome driver or instantiating the drivers or whatever it is actually, or driver navigations, base class, we don't have to worry about those things at all. We can directly write scripting itself, without no time. we will see that in demo, how easy and how fast we can write the scripts for a particular scenario. And then coming back to the extra features, what Cypress offers is the first and foremost thing. What I personally like with Cypress is the time travel feature. So what exactly happens here is, let's assume a scenario, right? We have an automation scenario. We have a scenario that we have automated, and that particular automation is having 10 different pages to navigate. And then what happens is, during your execution, there is some fault. And good thing is, it will take screenshots, which is absolutely right, great. But again, if you want to do a quick check on what has happened in the previous pages, so say for example, if in the 8th page there is an error and there is a screenshot that is taken in the 8th page, do you have a proof that from page 1 to 7 everything is working fine? I totally agree, that's the reason why it came to 8. But again, if you see, you need to go and see whether what has happened, whether the page is coming up correctly or something like that, right? So time travel is a feature that will be very, very useful for you to go through each and every page that is there, which means you can, we will just see in the demo as well. We'll just keep in mind that there is a feature called time travel, where you can go across multiple screens and see whether everything is coming there or not. All right. And the second one is real-time reloads. This feature I really like it because I think at some point of time, or currently, we will be doing some web development activity as well. So we will be doing something in the Visual Studio Code or in Eclipse. And then if we go to the browser and when we refresh it, it automatically reloads everything over there without no time actually, right? So it's the same kind of a feature that is available with Cypress as well. So when you just go and do something in your Visual Studio Code, it automatically start executing the test cases for you. So you don't have to, trigger it manually to come and see whether the particular functionality is working or not. And then comes the spice, stubs, and clocks. So basically speaking, we all know mocking, right? So let's assume a scenario where we were given the UI part of the web application, and unfortunately, the backend is not working. So at this point of time, what we can do is, we can't go and tell our customer saying that, hey, backend is not working, so I'm not able to execute my test cases, right? So there is a feature in Cypress where you yourself can mock that particular service. I know that there are lots of service virtualization tools that are available, lots of mocking tools that are available, but this particular feature is inbuilt within Cypress, where you can directly mock that particular service and make sure that the UI is coming up properly or not. This is what I was telling, that as an SDET, it is my responsibility to look into, not only look from the UI automation perspective, but also slightly from different angle as well, like this particular mocking and everything, right? So while doing this one, we will make sure that the UI is coming up properly or not. And then later point of time, once the backend is up and running, then we can then we can execute our UI tests to make sure that the entire application is working or not. And the next one is the consistent results. Since it is less flaky, most of the test cases are becoming consistent. Most of the results are becoming consistent. So that's why I was telling that it's a different architecture, where it doesn't consume WebDriver at all, where there is no middle layer at all. And then comes debuggability, where you can just use Chrome DevTools to debug that particular application. And then automatic waiting. That is one feature that I really, really, really love with Cypress actually. So basically speaking, when we are doing our automation framework or automation scripting with other tools, what we need to use is we need to explicitly tell there is a wait. Like whether it is implicit wait or explicit wait, we need to explicitly tell that we need to code that particular part to tell whether that particular component is loaded or not, right? But in Cypress, we don't have to tell that, because there is an algorithm written within Cypress itself where it automatically waits for that particular component to come. But again, with some timeout, but you can configure the timeout later point of time as well. But there are some, best practices which we need to follow, where you don't have to worry about changing the default timeouts, wherein your application's responsibility is to respond to your action at that particular point of time, right? So automatic waiting is also one great feature that is available out of the box. And then network traffic control, mostly for our developers, where they just wanted to monitor the network and then test the edge cases if it is required from the server perspective. And then comes the screenshots and videos. This is we all know that screenshots and videos are, essential part of our framework, right? Of course, video is a bit optional, but again, screenshots are really required. So good news with Cypress is you don't have to explicitly tell whether you need to take screenshot or not. So it automatically takes screenshots for all the failed test cases, actually, where it fails and everything. So we don't have to worry about, catching the exception and then taking a screenshot for that and all. So it takes automatic screenshots and videos as well for our benefit. And yeah, so we will slightly touch upon the differences between Selenium and Cypress. But again, it's up to you guys. At least as a consultant, again, I'm telling you, I'm not telling that Cypress is better or Selenium is better. Always we need to select a tool that is much better for our own requirement. So with that in mind, I'm just trying to compare these two tools and give you some insight about which is much better for a modern web application. So you can decide whatever you want, actually. So let's see from the Selenium perspective, what is the advantages? What are the advantages it has? First and foremost thing, it supports multiple languages, and that's the reason why you have multiple multiple testing frameworks like TestNG, JUnit, NUnit, XUnit, Cucumber, Mocha, etc. Whereas if you take Cypress, it supports only Mocha, but of course you can use Cucumber as a plugin. We will see that in demo on how we can write a Cucumber test as well. You will be able to get more idea about it. But Cypress supports only Mocha at this point of time, and I don't think so that they have plans to make use with other. I think it supports TypeScript, if I'm right. No, that's just JavaScript. Yeah. So at this point of time, I don't think so that they have planned to integrate it with other testing frameworks. And the second comparison is remote execution, which means that you can make use of Selenium Grid to run across different, different virtual machines or something like that to make sure whether it executes all the test cases with a different set of browsers or configurations. Whereas if you take Cypress, it is not possible because of its nature. So during the architecture itself, they haven't, I think, thought about this particular remote execution. So they have just made it, to work without any remote execution part. And then comes the multiple tabs and cross-domain testing. So from the Selenium perspective, it is absolutely possible to execute your test cases with multiple tabs. But again, from Cypress perspective, there is no direct multiple tab support because they personally think that like the entire scope of your application should reside only within that particular tab which you have opened. And ultimately, that is how that is how an application should also be built. Think from an accessibility perspective. If you have 2 or 3 tabs opening for one particular feature, think about physically disabled, physically different people actually. How will they able to understand it? So people who have visibility, vision issues, they will not be able to navigate through multiple tabs. So I personally think that makes sense to have only one tab to make sure that all the test cases are executing. So all the applications focuses only from that particular tab. And unfortunately, Cypress doesn't support more than one domain, which means if your application is going to have, say for example, abc.com, from your abc.com, if you're navigating to another website called as xyz.com, Cypress doesn't work. Whereas if you take Selenium, it has that cross-domain testing feature, cross-domain support, where it can execute it across different domains as well. And then comes the cross-browser testing tool support like BrowserStack and SauceLab. Selenium has good, integration, but unfortunately, Cypress doesn't support any third-party cross-browser testing tools. But you can use Dockers for doing third-party, browser or for doing the cross-browser testing across different versions of the browsers. You need to use Docker for that particular part. If time permits, we will try to do a quick demo on that particular part as well. And then comes the mobile support. Selenium does support mobile using Appium, but unfortunately Cypress is a web UI automation tool, and their scope is only restricted to web UI and not to any mobile native apps. But if your app is going to be, if your app is going to have a responsive UI, you can just change the viewport and then you can test it with Cypress as well. And then comes the support. Selenium has an excellent community support. Since it is existing for more than a decade, many people will be having experience with Selenium, and then we have a very good community support. Whereas if you take Cypress, it is very young and it has very less community support at this point of time. Probably down the line, after 2 or 3 years, we will have an excellent community support as well. Now let's see the comparison when it comes to Cypress. What are the advantages of Cypress? First one, Cypress is much faster. Like I said earlier, there is no middle layer, there is no JSON wire protocol, or there is no WebDriver involved here, so there is a faster execution. And then there is no driver dependencies. I don't know how many people, I'm sure that you might have come across this particular problem. Let's assume that you have a Chrome driver that is running in your pipeline, and your Chrome browser automatically gets updated. So what happens is you will have a very big problem or a trouble that makes your tests to fail, saying that the Chrome driver version which you are using is not suiting the existing Chrome browser version. So then you have to pick up the Chrome, appropriate WebDriver, Chrome driver version, and then put it in your pipeline and then execute your test cases. So these are kind of, flaky tests as well. I mean, these are kind of, issues that fails our tests unnecessarily, right? And with the modern, web browsers that are coming up with its latest versions and latest builds almost like every week, there is a big trouble of upgrading our WebDriver as well. Whereas if you take Cypress, you don't have to have that headache at all, because it runs from the browsers that are installed in your local machine or in the Docker. So you don't have to worry about it. And like I said earlier, it has an inbuilt mock server, whereas Selenium doesn't have. But again, you can use third-party tools that are available to make sure whether you are able to have the mock support as well. And XHR validation support is inbuilt with Cypress, whereas if you take Selenium, it doesn't have any XHR support itself. But again, you can use third-party tools to do that. And then comes the test runner actually. So if you take Cypress, there is a feature called a test runner. So if you want to execute your test cases, from Cypress perspective, you can execute it in 2 ways actually. So one is via your test runner, and the other one is via your command line, which is in headless mode actually. So we will see that in action as well. But for now, we will just talk about test runner. So what happens with test runner is you can it's a simple UI. It's a simple UI where your test cases will be populated, and you can just go and click on individual test cases to execute that particular test case alone, and you will be able to see the result of that particular test case. Or you can execute it or you can execute all the test cases at once as well. Good thing with test runner is you will be able to integrate it directly with the developer tools. So say for example, if you want to debug something from a developer's perspective, there is an inbuilt, there is an integration with developers tool directly. You can just directly get into that particular, inspect element or something, and then you can go and debug from there as well. If you take Selenium IDE, that's quite different actually. So it has a record and playback, whereas Cypress doesn't have a record and playback. But again, if you see here, the Selenium IDE is great, but not as good as Cypress, because Selenium IDE, you can just try to record something, but again, there is a possibility of having a flakiness as well. But again, if you see, you will not be able to execute your WebDriver test cases directly from Selenium IDE. That is also one biggest trouble that we are having now. So I think yeah, and the other one is the API testing support from a Cypress perspective. Like I said earlier, it does support API, so you don't have to worry about it. That's why it is called as end-to-end testing tool. Whereas Selenium, it is just a browser automation tool, so we don't have support for API testing. And Cypress has automatic retries. Selenium has implicit and explicit waits, where you have to code that particular part for waiting for that particular element or not. Like Cypress, again, automatic screenshots. Selenium, no automatic screenshots, and easy to install in Cypress, whereas you need to install multiple components for Selenium. And the other one with Cypress is it shows clear error messages actually. So I don't know, many of us, right? I'm very sure you might have come across this particular situation where Selenium will throw an error, will throw an exception, but you will not know what exactly that exception is all about, and you don't know where it is throwing as well. So you need to go through the entire stack trace to understand what exactly the problem is and why it is failing, whether it is an application problem or your script issue, or whether it is a flaky test. We don't know what exactly it is. But Cypress has that feature inbuilt, at least with the latest version of Cypress. You will be able to get clear error messages about why that particular failure has happened actually. And Cypress has an excellent documentation. So if you go to cypress.io website, you will have an excellent documentation about how to use Cypress. But Selenium, if you take average documentation, but an excellent community support, like I said earlier, right? I believe that this particular comparison would have given you some idea about Cypress and Selenium, and we will just see that particular in action, Cypress in action. So you will be able to understand what are all the features that we have discussed till now from the demo. Before we get into the demo, I'll just quickly iterate or quickly convey what are all the benefits that at least what I have seen personally. First one is it is quite easy to set up, and the second one is it is much faster, and the third one is it is having developer tool while running the tests, and it has inbuilt assertions where you can just use Chai to do the assertions directly, and it has multiple browser supports. One of the major issues that we had with Cypress back in 3.x version was it was not supporting multiple browsers. Earlier it was supporting only Chrome and Electron. So it was not supporting even Firefox or Edge, but now it supports Firefox and Edge as well, which means that you will be able to execute all the test cases with, with different browsers. But in case if your application needs to be executed in Safari or Internet Explorer, Cypress is not a good option because it doesn't support IE or Safari at this point of time. From IE perspective, I don't think so Cypress has anything in the roadmap, but probably from the Safari perspective, they might have, but I'm not sure about it. But this is what multiple cross-browser support from Cypress perspective, and it is highly cost-effective. Many people are having misunderstanding that Cypress is commercial tool, but unfortunately it is not. Only one part of Cypress is commercial, and that part is the dashboard feature, and that is optional. But if you want, you can use the dashboard, or you can just use other CI/CD tools like Jenkins or Circle CI or Travis CI, something like that, to make use of that particular dashboard feature without procuring Cypress dashboard actually. So which means Cypress is open source tool where you can just pull it and start using it from the day one without paying a single penny. Then comes the accessibility support. So basically speaking, you can use Cypress with multiple third-party plugins like Xcore to do the accessibility testing, where you will be able to identify the accessibility issues in your web applications, and it just points out very nicely to you saying that, hey, this is what the problem in that particular page, and you can just report it to your developers to fix it. And then it supports Cucumber, the Gherkin format, where you can just write your test cases in simple English format. And trust me, it is very, very easy to integrate it. So no more hassle in having all those kind of driver setups and all. So it is straightforward. You can directly write steps in your step definitions to make sure if everything is working fine without any extra coding actually. And then the support for visual testing with Applitools or Percy.io. I haven't used personally the Percy.io tool, but Applitools, yes, I have used it. It's an amazing tool, and the integration of Cypress with Applitools is super amazing. The reason is there is a feature called, if I'm right, Ultra Grid, which means if I'm not sure about the exact name. So what it does is with Cypress, you can execute all your test cases across different set of devices, web browsers, resolutions. When I say resolutions, it's a viewport resolution. All the test cases at that time actually. So you don't have to worry about executing your test cases with mobile devices first, then web application, web browsers. So you don't have to worry about it. So all you need to do is configure with Applitools saying that run my Cypress tests across different set of viewports, the devices and the browsers. So it does for you in parallel that too. So that is a kind of an advantage that we are having from the visual testing perspective. So now let's directly get into the demo. So we just have another say 20-25 minutes. We will directly get into a demo, and we will see how we can start a framework right from the scratch actually. So for that, what we need to do is I'm using Selenium, sorry, Visual Studio Code. In case if you think you can use some other, tools like WebStorm, if I'm right, you can just use that as well. But I personally use this one because it is quite, it's open source. So let's do one thing. Let's create a simple project now. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder called Cypress Retarget Common Demo. Okay, so let me just create that particular folder and then open it in the Visual Studio Code. So once it is opened, what will happen is you will not be having anything on the left-hand side. So what you need to do is, first you need to initiate that particular project, right? So for that, what we need to do is we need to give npm init, which will eventually ask me to configure that particular project. For now, I'm just going to give leave with all the default values. So once I'm done, you will be able to see the package.json where it has all the data that I have given now or configured with what I have given during the project creation. Now let's do one thing. Like I said earlier, it's just one command that we need to follow, right? So all I need to do is just copy this particular command. We will come to this download now later, but perhaps we'll just try to, this is an offline version of Cypress for non-technical people. So this is where the test runner is located, where you can just give all the test files to the I would say the non-technical people so that they can just try to execute the test cases. We will see that shortly. Let's first try to install Cypress alone. So we are just going to click this, come here and paste it and hit enter. That's it. So now what happens is you will be able to see that all the node modules that are related to Cypress will be downloaded and all the relevant dependencies will also be downloaded. And you will be able to see the node modules package over here where it has all the packages. And you will be able to see the Cypress folder as well, where it just pulls all the code that are required, all the libraries that are required for Cypress. Now, we have the node modules, we have the package.json. So let's start writing the scripts, right? But before that, what we need to do is, we will just look into the test runner, because when we open the test runner, we will be able to generate a couple of, sample tests. So Cypress just creates a sample tests for you, and the folder structure that it has that we have to use to run the tests from Cypress perspective. So let's do that. So for that, I'm going to give npx Cypress open. So when I give this particular command, what happens ultimately is the test runner will be opened. So test runner is nothing but another simple UI based tool that is available as part of Cypress itself. Now what happens is it just tells that, hey, I've just created some sample tests so that it will be easy for you to go through it. So when I click OK, I got it. These are the spec files. So in Cypress, since we are using Mocha test framework, right? We need to write our tests as specification files actually, so or spec files. So whenever we are going to draft our test cases in a separate file, we should make sure that we are giving .spec.js as the extension actually. So if you see here, these are the different set of test cases that Cypress created for us automatically. Now, before we get into this particular test runner, let's quickly go to the Visual Studio and see what has been created now. So if you see here, there is a folder called Cypress that got auto-generated, and you will be able to see four different folders here. So fixtures is one folder where you can just put all your data, files. So say for example, if you want to make your Cypress framework or Cypress tests data driven, you can put all your JSON files or CSV files within this particular fixtures folder and directly call it in your test script actually. Now the next folder contains, the next folder is an integration, and this is the place where you need to place all the spec files actually. So you can create multiple folders within integration, but again, make sure that you are placing all your test files inside this particular folder so that Cypress, when executing the test cases, by default examines whether the test or the spec files are located within integration folder. So again, please put all your spec files within this particular folder. And then comes the plugins. So basically speaking, Cypress does support different plugins as well. You can just go to Google or to cypress.io websites to see what are all the available plugins that are there for Cypress, and you can just make use of it. One such example is unit tests, where you can just for unit tests for different languages like React.js or Angular.js, you can just install that plugin over here, and you need to give an entry in this particular index.js, and you can start using that one. But we are not going to look into that one in this particular session, but there is an option as well. And then comes the support folder, where you can just have commonly occurring functions, or I can say that you can write your own custom functions and put it in this particular folder, where you can just reuse it across all these spec files in your integration folder. And then then comes the index.js, which we will not be dealing with it as of now, so we don't have to worry about support and plugin folders. But I just wanted to tell you that this is the folder structure of Cypress. And now let's do one thing. Let's get into the test runner actually. Now, what is this test runner? So I was telling that it is a simple UI, right? It's a great UI. In fact, the reason is, think about this particular scenario. You are an automation guy, right? So you know in and out about coding, which is absolutely great. But think about non-technical people like business analysts or product owners or business testers. So when you draft a framework, right, especially with Selenium or other tools, what you need to do is you need to go, if a business tester wants to execute the automation tests, he or she has a very big headache of installing the tool, configuring the framework, pull the code, all those kind of configurations within the local machine. All those are very big headaches. At least for the business tester, what they personally feel. From technical perspective, we are techies and we know that it is quite easy. But for them, it is not their job and they don't care about that one, right? So what happens with this particular test runner is, if you remember, I was showing you this particular download now, right? So when I click on this download now, it downloads the test runner directly. So this particular UI will be there. And what you need to do is you go to your Visual Studio, write all your spec files, all your tests, copy those test files and put it in this particular integration folder within that test runner in the business testers machine. Once they kickstart this particular test runner, they will be able to see all the specification files here. So they don't have to set up a Visual Studio Code in their machine. They don't have to pull the entire framework. They don't have to configure anything extra. All they need to do is just take the spec files, put it in test runner, and start executing the test cases. So that is one big advantage, at least what I have seen personally with one of my customer, where they involve lots of business testers, or rather I would say that non-technical people, where they really appreciate this particular feature. And then on the right hand side, you will be able to see where you want to execute your test cases. So this is where the cross-browser support comes in. And here, all these browsers are installed in my machine. So Chrome 83 is there in my machine, Firefox 77 is there in my machine, and Edge 83 is there in my machine. Whereas Electron 80 is by default, it comes with Cypress Test Runner itself or Cypress itself. So whatever version you have installed in your local machine will be populated here. Probably your scope might be like, the latest version or the latest version minus X versions of the browser. So say, for example, Chrome 80 might be your requirement. So at that time, you will be having 80 in your machine. So that that particular 80 version will be populated here for you. And then you can just select it manually where you want to execute the test case and just click on this particular spec file. Let's quickly, click this and see how it is getting executed. I'm going to click, so I want to execute it in, Edge 83. I just wanted to execute this particular spec file. So I'm just going to click this. What happens ultimately is Cypress will be opening the instance of Edge in this particular way. So if you see here on the left-hand side, all the test cases are getting executed. On the, it shows all the tests that are on the left-hand side, and the right side, you will be able to see the execution over there. So look at the speed it just executed the test cases, guys. So almost like 14 tests within 17 seconds actually. So basically speaking, this is the major advantage. So it runs inside the browser. So you don't have to worry about instantiating the driver or something, and that is why it is very, very fast to execute as well. You will come to know about more when we start doing our coding, coding of one particular scenario. Now let's do one thing. Let's go to Visual Studio, and let me just remove all these tests actually. Okay, let me just have assertions alone. Rest everything, I'll just try to delete it. The reason is I just wanted to show you from the command line perspective how the test cases are getting executed actually. Let's delete this one. Go here and delete. Cool. I have only one. So what I need to do is first I need to stop that particular test runner. So I just stopped it. And then now what I need to do is just put npx space Cypress space run. That's it. So basically speaking, Cypress open will open the test runner and you can execute the test cases from there. Cypress run will be executing your test cases in a headless mode, and you can configure where you want to execute the test cases, in the sense which browser you want to execute as well. So currently I just wanted to execute it in say for example Chrome, and when I hit enter, it executes the test cases in an I think it will just open. Yeah, it just opened it for you. So it is a headed mode where you will be able to see the test cases that are getting executed here, whereas it can just execute it in headless mode as well. But you need to explicitly tell in the command that it has to execute in a headless mode. So let's see that as well. I'm just going to give just run. So it just executes in the headless mode. You will not be able to see the Chrome browser that is getting opened. So the test case is getting executed. But now it is executing in Electron, but again, you can just configure it to execute in Chrome as well. So that's it. So it just got executed actually. So you will be able to see that all the tests got executed in a headless mode in Electron browser as well. Now, let's try to do a simple scenario. I know that we have another 10, 12 minutes. We will try to do a quick scenario. So for that, I'm going to use a Parabank application. So this is always my favorite website where I do all the automation because it has all the latest features that are available for a web application. So I'm going to use this one. So what we are going to do now is we are going to learn how to code using Cypress spec file, and then how easy it is for us to write the code as well. So let's do one thing. Let's go to integration folder and create a new file. Let us call it as bill payment.spec.js. Okay. Now what happens is, right, in order to use the auto completion feature of Cypress, right, you need to just use this particular line of code before you start writing your test. So once you do this, you will be able to see all sort of auto completion coming up here. So let's create since this is using Mocha, I'm just writing my tests in Mocha. So if you want to know more about Mocha, there is a course that is there in Test Automation University. So you can just go there and you can learn yourself about Mocha and then come here as well. So describe Parabank app. And then I'm going to give it something like this. And then I'm going to write any function. Cool. So bill payment, right? Cool. So first I need to launch the browser. So it is very easy to launch it. So all we need to do is like just give cy.visit of that particular URL. As simple as that actually. So we don't have to worry about instantiating a driver or something like that. All we need to do is just give this particular command. Oopsie, what did I do? Yeah, cool. Just paste the URL over here and that's it. So now let's see the feature that Cypress offers us to do the coding very fast. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it in the test runner. Open. So it ultimately opens my test runner, and I have only one. I have this bill payment spec file here, And this is what I was talking about, automatic reload. So whatever you do in Visual Studio, it reflects directly in your test runner. You don't have to come here and then do a separate updation or something like that. So now when I click on this one, what it happens is it just opens the browser and then it just visits that particular page, which is great, wonderful. Now what we need to do is we need to start entering the username and password and click login button, right? Let's use the feature of selector playground from Cypress test runner. So what it does exactly is you have this particular icon, right? Click on this selector playground and come and click on this particular component. So it generates the code for you here. And this is the best feature that developers really like. So they don't have to code it, rather they just have to copy and paste it over there. So now click on the this one and go to your Visual Studio and then type it over here and do what you want. So say for example, type say for example John, right? I just saved it, and when I went there to the browser, you will be able to see that it has entered John here for me. So this is the auto, this is the reload function, that a feature I was talking about. So you do something over there, it reflects over here. And then the next one is the password. And then I just go here and click this, take this over, dot type demo, and we can just use the keystroke here like enter, which means that we use keys, right? So instead of keys, we are just giving this particular enter keyword in the curly braces, where if you go here and see in this one, you will be able to see that it just logs in directly. So I'm just refreshing this particular test, just entered username and password and hit enter, and it came here directly actually. Now I need to click this particular bill payment, copy this, go here, dot click, that's it. So it again executes everything from the beginning, so you don't have to worry about kickstarting it again actually. So if you see here, it just came to the bill payment service. Use this particular feature again to take all the code, and then you can just type whatever you want. But in case if you think that this is a very big headache for you, right, Giri, I don't want this particular automatic reload feature, you can disable it as well. So all you need to do is go to Cypress JSON, and you can just write something like wait for file changes and make it as false. So ultimately what happens is, if you're doing something with your code in the Visual Studio, Cypress will not automatically execute it for you. So in that way, you can easily run your test cases here, and then you can take all the code that you want, and then you can put it in the Visual Studio code. So I'm going to do like this. Cool. And then I'm going to select this particular address as well. So I'm going to enter over here dot type of what I need to give. I just have to give, say for example, tester. Cool. I think it is still executing it. Okay, cool. No worries. Yeah, tester. So likewise, we need to give everything here and click on this send payment, which will ultimately goes to the next page, and then we will be able to, finish that particular scenario. Just in the conscious of time, I will just try to see if I have this particular script ready so that we can directly write the tests actually. Let me quickly see if I have that one. Do I have? I don't think so. I have that one, but let me quickly see that. Yeah, I'll probably do the registration part as of now. Okay, text editor. Copy this, close. Go back to Visual Studio Code, create a new file, call it as registration.spec.js, and then paste it over here. Cool, great. So when I do this, let me just stop here. And then if you see here, it automatically populated here. When I hit this one, registration.spec, it just goes and it starts running my registration code here directly from the Parabank. That's it, done. So my entire regression scenario, sorry, registration scenario just took 12 seconds for me to execute it. I was talking about time travel, if you remember. So this is what I wanted to show you guys. So basically speaking, on the left-hand side, when you are just hovering on this particular steps, you will be able to see what exactly Cypress was doing at that particular instance. Actually, on the right-hand side, if you see, when you're you will be able to see there is a red dot, and that is what the action has been done. So basically speaking, it takes the snapshot automatically for you and it displays it for you. You might not, I mean, you might not be you might be wondering that it might take some space for the snapshots, but it is there in the cache, so don't worry. Once you close this particular test runner, everything just vanishes on its own, so you don't have to worry about clearing it manually as well. So this is also one of the biggest very good feature. And then what I need to show you guys is about the Docker. So on in the conscious of time, I'll just finish it in another 2-3 minutes. No, the Cucumber part, I just wanted to show you. Let me just open that one. Yeah, it's over here. Because most of us are working, with Cucumber these days, right? And a good thing is like Cypress has very good support for Cucumber as well. So it's just like same what Selenium uses. The first layer is the feature file layer. Next one is the step definitions layer, and then comes all the utility layer and everything. So likewise, we have the feature as well over here, but in a slightly different way. So what you need to do is, again, make sure that you're putting all your test cases within the integration folder, and you need to create your feature file, and within that particular, where that particular feature file resides, create another class file called login.js actually, where you can just put all your step definitions like this. So this is a Swag Labs example where I have just created a simple feature file for logging in and logging out. So if you see here, the feature files, sorry, the step definitions for that particular feature file is located here. So ultimately, ultimately, if you want to execute this particular feature file, you can click on this particular feature file from test runner, or you can just directly run it from the command line as well. So let's do quickly. I'm just opening through, I'm just running through test runner because I just wanted to show you something over there. But in real time, when you want to execute it in your CI/CD pipeline, you can just use the command line directly, actually. Okay, so if you see here, let's forget about these two things. So let's focus only from Cucumber test perspective. You'll be able to see the login feature file and the login.js file as well over here. So what I would suggest is don't worry about this particular folder, just leave it as it is. If you want to execute that particular feature file, you just have to click on this particular .feature file alone. You don't have to worry about the .js file, because I don't know with the latest version whether they have fixed it, but it is really coming in 4.2.0 where I was where I was using Cypress to draft this particular scenario. Again, on the left-hand side, you will be able to see the timeline, the time travel, where you will be able to see what has happened at what instance. And you will also be able to see all the page load as well, and what all the URLs that has been coming here, and all those things over here. The good thing is developers really like this particular feature, and of course we testers also, to make sure whether our tests are non-flaky actually. So it should not be failing because of some silly mistakes. So that's the reason why it is showing all these things, which is a quite good feature, I personally feel. And then what I wanted to show you guys is about the Docker. So I'll just take another 2 minutes to show the Docker, so you'll be able to understand that as well. And then we will directly get into questions. I know that within 1 hour, we will not be able to master Cypress because it's a huge tool, but I thought I will just give you a glimpse about this particular tool on what it can do, so that you will be able to understand more. So let me just open the Docker as well. Where are you, Docker? Cucumber. Yeah, there you are. Cool. So it's very simple, guys. You just draft all your test cases over here. You don't have to do anything in the test cases. All you need to do is just create two files. One is .doc ignore docker ignore file, where you just ignore this particular node modules, and then you create another file called docker file. And this is the place where you will be telling what image it has to pull from the Cypress perspective and put it in the Docker image and execute the test cases. So currently I have Chrome 83 in my machine, right? But what if I want to execute it in Chrome 80? So if you remember, a couple of minutes back, I was telling about the cross-browser support, right? It doesn't have integration support for Sauce Labs or Browser Stack, but it does have support for Docker. So ultimately, you can just go to this particular URL and you can pull different images that you want based on the browser versions that you want. So if you see here, all these are different images that are available for Cypress Docker. So if you want to execute it in Chrome 76, you have Chrome 73, you have, or a combination of Chrome 78 and Firefox 70, you have. All you need to do is just just call this particular image in the Docker file, and the Docker will be able to do everything for you. Let me quickly see whether I have the Docker up and running. Yes, I have the Docker up and running. So I will just try to put Docker -t Cypress space dot. Cool. Okay, just executed it recently, so it is not executing it for me. Okay, let me just delete these things. And this is the place where you can just tell, in the Docker file where you want to execute the test cases as well, whether in Chrome or Firefox, actually. I think there is some issue in my machine where it is not able to run. Cool. Yeah, it's running now. Yeah. So if you see here in the command prompt where you will be putting it in your CI/CD pipeline, it just pulls the Cypress image, and then it starts automatically installing Chrome of that particular version and Firefox of that particular version in that particular image, and then executes all your test cases with those two browsers, and then terminates that particular Docker image. So you don't have to worry about having a infrastructure for that particular browser directly. It will take some time, but just to save some time, I'm just leaving it as it is. Once this is executed, we will come to see what is the result that had come. So I hope it was a bit useful for you guys to kickstart about, from the Cypress perspective. I think I'm now open for questions, in fact.
Yeah, thanks, Giridhar. It will be really good session. At least people will get idea that how can we start with it. So, like, I want to ask one very basic question. Like, whenever tester heard that we need to they need to move to another new tool, right? So always they first thing they think like how much programming language now is needed, right? So if you see the for Cypress with the JavaScript and Nodejs and all, right? So can you just explain brief like how much you need to be good in these programming concepts so that you can use Cypress without any problems?
Okay, that's really a fantastic question. So I'll be very honest with you. I started JavaScript programming from WebDriver.io. Okay, but the amount of skills that I was having before I started JavaScript WebDriver.io with JavaScript was very less. But again, it happened for me to learn more and more JavaScript because of its nature from the WebDriver.io perspective. But if you take Cypress, I think basic knowledge is more than enough. Actually, you just wanted to know what exactly is asynchronous call and how we can extract the text. So all those kind of basic things are more than enough from the Cypress perspective, because most of the calls are, or most of the APIs are being taken care by Cypress, and it does on its own. So we just have to know how to use that CY dot functions alone. So I think basic knowledge about JavaScript is more than enough. Utter basic is more than enough.
And what if we do not have any knowledge about JavaScript?
Cool. That's really a good question. So in that case, what I would do is I can suggest you a course. I think most recently there is a person called Vignesh has created a wonderful Cypress course where you will be learning JavaScript and Cypress as well. So whatever you wanted from the Cypress perspective, you will know about JavaScript, and then you can make use of that one. Or if you think I want to learn it separately, just try to learn basics of Node.js, or just start using Cypress. You will come to know what exactly JavaScript, Node.js from the JavaScript perspective, actually.
One more.
Yeah.
So you please go
Yeah,
ahead.
actually, yeah. Actually, for Cypress, we do for the nodes or React.js and AngularJS application, right? Only these two
Right.
applications.
No.
Not for
Any
Mobile.
web-based application. No. Any web-based applications it will support, but again, it is
For
built.
HTML also, right?
Yeah. Any HTML. Yeah. Any browser-based applications it will work, but it has been built for the modern web applications. Is what Cypress also claims. But anything that is running on browser, it should be working.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned earlier, like the URL, cross URLs will never work. For example, we have different URL
Right.
in our applications. So you are saying that to choose our application, for example, my application, I know that. So what are the things it is there. So my application will support in only one URL, means it navigates in the same tabs, right? Same tabs. It doesn't goes to any other URLs, or it doesn't goes to any other particular different URLs. So those we need to consider. Then only we need to decide whether we have to go for Cypress, right?
Definitely yes. To make sure that, right, so you can just go through this particular URL. So here you will be able to understand what are the super domains it supports. Say for example, like if your application is going to have cypress.io example, okay,
Means
and next one is docs.cypress.
No,
I'm
in
sorry.
our application we need to check that cypress.io.
Okay.
No, I'm saying how we can go with the Cypress. For example, I have one application. It is developed in HTML or some other PHP, whatever it is. So in my application, we have different URLs. For example, normally if you see web application, it has something different. Like some in between will come OTP sent to mobile, or some will be there scenarios. So those we need to analyze everything. Then only we need to come for Cypress, right?
Not everything actually. You can just come to know within one or two URLs itself whether it is going to help you or not. So,
because
ultimately,
for example, the application is big application. So the Cypress will support for the long-term projects or small kind of application. How it is?
Anything it supports, whether it is going to be an enterprise application or a small scale project, if it is a web based, and if it is having all these trade-offs compromised, then it will definitely support actually.
Yeah, in my application have different types of scenarios like navigating tab, or it will open as a new window. So this will support in Cypress.
No,
So
it will
then
not support.
I need to analyze everything before to go Cypress. What are the things support in Cypress? Then only I need to choose with the Cypress, right?
Definitely, that's what we do with all the test automation framework. Actually, we need to, before we adapt it.
I think the thing is Selenium is like Selenium. It doesn't have any such kind of thing. Like you can do any application. For example, on 60% up, 60% automation they do with Selenium. Then remaining they need for some mobile applications or something. Say they go for that remaining part of scenario. They go with that. So like Cypress has some restrictions. So I'm asking that. So everything we need to analyze. Then only we go for Cypress. So how about the result and screenshots, the video part? We didn't see that still.
Right. So basically speaking, we can have Mocasum. It's a reporting tool. You can use Allure. It's a third-party tool as well.
Allure report, right?
Generate. Allure report. Allure, and you can also use Mocasum as well, where you will be having an excellent, reporting structure here. Let me just try to show you quickly if I have that. Azure Mokasam. Where are you, Mokasam? Let me just try to see. There it is. Cool.
So it comes under the means whatever it is comes under the project only, right? Because now Visual Studio we are not able to understand how it is because everyone use Eclipse, right? Sorry, not for Eclipse, but basically for JavaScript and all we are using Eclipse. I don't know, but Eclipse perspective means if you import in the project in Eclipse, so the clear picture we get it because I see in Visual Studio there are so many because we don't get the structure. We are seeing like it's a new structure kind of thing. In Eclipse, if we import that, the exactly where we have to go there, where we need to create a file, and what are the extra files we need to keep in under which folders, and the report where it stores, which folder it will store, and the videos or screenshot, whatever it is, and any logs will be there for the Cypress, where it will be there. So those things, if it is there, it is clear cut. Okay, we come up easily transfer to Selenium to Cypress because Selenium has clear structure, like two ways of project we have: Java project and Maven project. So Java project structure is different, and Maven means pom.xml. Maven project is different. The for example, if where we can create a test automation script where you will keep it your extra files like properties files or any feature file or something, and where we can create a folders, we can keep it some files, and where report will be generated, like if it is Maven project it will store under the target folder. If it is normal project, if we will give that particular path or folder path, it will store it. So like that clear cut it is there, so it is easy to understand, right?
Definitely yes. You know what? Have you heard about WebStorm? It is built on top of Eclipse. So that does support Cypress-based projects as well. You can explore that if you think that is going to be helpful for you.
So your view, which one question? Your view, which editor is good? Eclipse or like JavaScript, Visual Studio, or like PyCharm? Something will get it, right? Like IntelliJ. So which editor will be preferred for this Cypress?
I personally prefer Visual Studio Code because I'm used to this one, and I feel like most of the plugins that we want to use, everything is located here. But if you take Eclipse, I don't think so that it supports even JavaScript. For using JavaScript, you need to go for WebStorm or something like that. Eclipse does support only Java, so I think comparing Eclipse with Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio Code or WebStorm is going to be comparing like apples and oranges. But again, Visual Studio Code does support Maven as well.
Okay.
There's actually this Eclipse can support JavaScript language as well. So you just need to add some plugins and all. So
yeah,
it's not like
the
case only
big
Java.
deal. In Eclipse, if you want to make it as a JavaScript, you need to add plugin. You need some other plugin. You need to add it to come the editor like JavaScript. So many things is there. I'm asking us already people using. So IntelliJ, we have Visual Studio, everything. And one more thing, you are typing npm install like that. So we need to install any npm in our system.
Yes, we need to install Node.js actually. So make sure that you have
Node.js.
Yeah, because it's an engine, right? It's a JavaScript engine. Yeah.
So no, the npm will come under the Node.js, right?
Yes. So when you're installing Node.js, it automatically installs npm as well. So npm is a node package manager.
So the installation, so we get any, what are the tools it required for Cypress? Means before this Cypress, we need JavaScript view, means JavaScript view, or Node.js, or .NET framework, or any. What are the things it required for an editor required? It required any other test runner or Mocha. Mocha will be inbuilt, everything will be there, or we need to install anything. So there is any kind of list will be there, because if we work on some particular tool, we come to know these are the tools will be required. Like in Selenium, Test NG, Apache POI, what is that? Any other external tools we use. So we know that what are things, what is authority required for any other tool it is required. So these are the list. If we go for frameworks, we get all those stuff. For Cypress, what are the things it requires? Means general.
Okay.
I require first this, and all.
That's a wonderful question. So if you see on the screen, I'm just showing the system requirements that are required actually. So the first and foremost thing what you need is Node.js. I'll send you this link as well. I'll just share it with Amod. So Amod can share it with you guys. So you need to have Node.js 8 and automatically NPM will be installed as part of that Node.js itself. And then it can be in any machines like any operating systems like Mac OS or Linux or Windows 7 and above. And then if you go through this particular list, you will be able to understand more. But at least from test framework perspective, you don't have to worry because there is only one support, which is Mocha, and it will be installed directly by Cypress. So you don't have to worry about installing it separately. But coming to the reporting part, you need to install a separate package called Mochasm or Allure Reports, where you can directly put all your test results in that itself.
Okay, so externally we need to add that package, right?
Yeah,
we need to install in NPM or NPM only, right?
NPM only, because Cypress is a Node.js based web automation tool. Okay, so just like how we are, just like how we are using
Python,
we are using NPM.
Using Python, right? So same thing. What are the package we required, we will install like that same thing.
Right, absolutely. I haven't used Python personally, but if you compare it with Java, it's like Maven actually, Maven and Gradle, where you have a Maven repository and you have all the dependencies over there, right? You can make use of NPM to pull all the packages like that. So the website where you can just go and see multiple packages is
NPM. Cypress have any logs? Log file?
Yeah, you can put cy.log wherever you want actually, but I haven't done it. But you can just make use of that feature, cy.log. You can just log wherever you want and whatever you want actually. And good thing, okay. So just since you start up with that point, if you remember, okay, let me just try to show you an example with the same thing that we created now. Where are you? Here you are. Okay, let's fail one scenario and we will just try to see how it is showing the exception. I know why you're talking about the logging and all. But again, if you want to log this,
you said something like exception, how it will be automatically clear.
Right. I will just show you now. So let me just remove this register. Okay, this register in a different name altogether. So let's try to run this. Where are you? Cypress open. So basically, you don't have to log any exceptions anywhere because Cypress has that feature to log everything and it will just show you what exactly the error is as well. So let me just click on this registration.spec.js and it will fail, right? It should fail ultimately. And it's just waiting. So that, yeah, perfect. So it just got failed, okay? So if you see here, good thing is it will be able to tell you why it is failing. Okay, timeout exception expected to find this one, but never did. And the second one is it will directly show you where that particular problem is there in your code. If you take other tools, I don't know about Python, but again, if you take Eclipse or something,
even normally in Selenium also we get that line number something in console. We will get that. Python also same thing. It's a line number. Line number 7, 8. We got the issue.
Right.
Our own we need to find out.
Right. Line number we will be getting, which is great, but you will be able to get it from the stack perspective, actually, the stack trace, and then you will be able to go and see in the code directly. Good thing is you can integrate this particular test runner with your favorite IDE, whether it is Visual Studio Code or IntelliJ, sorry, WebStorm or something. And it directly, when you click on this one, it directly goes to the Visual Studio Code and it just shows where exactly the error is.
Yeah,
I mean, these are all extra features.
Is there in, it is there in normal. If you click on that link, it will take you that line. It is there normal. Means this is good thing for exception, I feel. Okay.
Yeah, this is a sample
and one more thing, I forgot. The thing is, actually in Selenium is normal automation. The challenges is, for example, this particular element consider it is a username. This username is under iframe. So how your what is that element finder will find out it is under the iframe?
And that's a very good point. So that's what the trade-offs that we need to do actually. So basically speaking, if you take the trade-off stage,
this is one challenges will be in Selenium, because we have list of challenges which, because we know where exactly in pinpoint it will come as a stuck, because iframe so many people will stuck because we don't know. So many tools is there, test project also, Katlan also, so many things, because automatically even you see that there is a pro path, right? Pro path, Sanjay Kumar Soni, right? The person who developed the pro path means to inspect the element and identify which is the iframe element. So when he developed the tool that won't find out that iframe, but later he come up with like us, we told that how it will be. We told that scenario, like if you inspect one element, but automatically how you pick that this element is under the iframe. So you need to attach with your element, right? Iframe switch, then everything. So how this is giving us a automatically iframe element. For example, I found out that element I am running. Okay, it is not executing. So you how Cypress knows that this is under the iframe will perform or not perform. What error we get it.
That's fairly a good point. So that is one of the trade-offs that we have here. If you go to the trade-offs, right, it comes under temporary trade-off from Cypress perspective, actually. So the iframe support is very, very limited, but it does work actually, because I have seen a couple of applications like news.uk. So all those kind of applications are having.
No, it automatically, if you don't mention, it will execute, or it automatically moves.
If you see here, this is the command that we might need to use actually. So cy.frame ID and switch to that particular iframe. Sometimes it doesn't work.
One question here, iframe name is there, right? That as some iframe name. So how your finder tool is finding? For example, I'm finding the username. Okay, so username I'm finding. I'm running that, so it is not executing. So I come to know it is a iframe element. My knowledge, I come to know maybe it is a iframe. Okay, now how I need to expand that? What is that? Our React.js code or something. We need to find out what is the name and we need to put it, or our Cypress tool only will automatically capture this iframe name.
It depends actually. So if Cypress selector playground is not able to identify the frame name, you can use Chrome Dev Tools to identify that actually. So just like you said, right? We can use
that's what inspect.
Yeah. We can do that as well.
Oh, that is like another manual intervention now, right?
Yeah. See, scripting is something that is completely manual, and that is helping us out. That's it. But again, if you really want to know all these
things, I'm just saying this is now you come to know that scenario. Just you also know that okay, this is one part, right? How it will be, right? Correct.
Yeah.
So you note it now. You maybe pass it or something. This situation how will be solved. This is also solvable because finder tool will find out with including this iframe also. That does in Crowpath. Crowpath does it. Some functionality they added later. Means I informed them this is a one scenario. Then later they got that okay, this is correct. This is also one challenges in Selenium which we face. Then they did. This is also if you inform them, they will also get idea to automatically add. Means while finding the element will automatically add the iframe. So it is easy for us. Okay, we got an iframe.
Right.
Arun, let's others are also need to ask some questions. So Manoj,
sorry.
Manoj, you can ask now. No problem, Arun.
Thank you. Does Cypress supports the parallel execution without using the dashboard feature?
Okay, so that's really a good question. So basically speaking, yes, it does support, but it will be supporting only in the CI/CD environment. But if you ask me whether it will be supporting from the local perspective, it doesn't support. Parallel execution will not be supported by Cypress in your local machine. But when it comes to pipeline environment, yes, it does support. So that's what you can use Jenkins or you can use Circle CI. I think Circle CI is having very good support for parallel execution. But again, what I have seen is at least one of the developer, right? He wrote a simple script. Probably I'll just get you that package name, whether it is there in npm.js. You can run parallel tests up to 5 spec files in your local machine. So I can just get you that package name. I remember someone doing that, but I don't remember that where it is, where I found that, but I can get you that package name actually.
Yeah, thanks, Giridhar. Yeah, and it will help us. And one more thing, we are having some scenarios where we need to upload files and download files. So, does Cypress supports that now, uploading files and downloading files?
I think it's on mute.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's my bad. So I personally use this particular package to upload files. So maybe you can just give it a shot, in fact.
Yeah, sure. I will try it. Like the one last question I am having is, so when we are, when I'm starting the Cypress to the terminal, it's taking me around 60 seconds to launch the browser. So I have kept the logs also. I have kept the Cypress in a debug mode also. I am running, but it's taking every time it's taking like 60 to 80 seconds, and I am running in the Windows in my local machine, not in the Mac or in Linux. In Mac and Linux, it's faster, but in Windows, it's taking like 60 to 80 seconds when we are showing some demos to the client. So it's becoming hard.
I totally agree with you. See, that is a major, a problem with the operating system itself, actually. Even I have personally faced it, in fact. When I'm trying to run the test cases itself, be it whether at least triggering the test runner itself right, it takes time for me to come. That is a problem with the operating system, itself. Whereas if you take Mac OS or Linux, that is a total different architecture, right? Where it just executes it. So I think that is a known issue itself, Manoj.
Okay.
But see, what we need to think is, at least we need to see as a testers, we always think from the CI/CD perspective, right? So let's think from that perspective and see whether it is executing in the pipeline in a faster way or not. But I totally agree with customers. If it is showing a bit slow, then it's a big problem. But what I did when I was facing that issue was like I just spoke with my customer and I hired I just lent a Linux machine where I just started executing it directly from a Jenkins instance. Maybe you can give it a shot and see.
Yeah, sure, Keith. And thanks, Keith. All your blogs are very helpful in the
Oh,
Cypress.
wonderful. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Manoj.
Yeah, Giridhar, I have one question. Like as a organization level, we have a customized browser like Chrome. That customization done from the organization level. So when we are running Cypress test cases inside organization browser, customized browser, so we are facing issue. We is like not able to run the test cases on organization level browser. So is there any
Okay.
proxy setting or anything we need to do for the Cypress at organization level? Because I search, but I am unable to
Yes.
find that.
Wonderful. Are you working for a banking or insurance customer?
Yes, exactly.
That's the same problem I faced as well. So I work for a banking customer. So basically what you need to do is, sorry, is it Manoj? Sorry, I didn't get your name.
Bor.
Igbar, yeah. So basically what you need to do is just download the zip file actually. So if you remember, I was talking to you, right? Go to cypress.io. This is what I did. Download this offline version of Cypress and then try to unzip it actually. So then it will work. Have you tried this one, this particular part of
Yeah,
downloading it offline and then doing it?
yeah. Actually, when I downloaded offline and tried, then it is like opening the browser, but nothing loading on the browser side. Like it's a blank.
Wonderful. Great. I know what is the problem there. You need to configure proxy for that, in fact. So you can configure proxy in your .npm rc file directly. If you go to your C drive users, your username, right, there will be a .npm rc file. You can go there directly and then configure the proxy over there. So ultimately, when you are running the Cypress next time, it takes the proxy from npm rc file and then execute it for you.
Okay, yeah. Thanks. I will try that.
Give it a shot. Give it a shot. If you're not able to do, just ping me in LinkedIn. I can definitely
Yeah,
guide
sure.
you through that. Yeah.
Yes, sure. Yes, sure. Thanks.
Wonderful. Wonderful. No worries at all.
Giridhar, one more basic question, like there's any
Mhm.
chance like Cypress will be paid in future?
No, no. They are very clear about it actually, because this is the first question that I asked. See, I'm a very big Selenium fan. I've been using Selenium for over 9 years now. But when I started using this one, first thing that came in my mind was like, what if this particular, Cypress is becoming commercial down the line? But they have made it open source and they are very sure that they are not going to make it commercial, except the dashboard feature. But I think that is optional, but you don't have to use that dashboard. But again, if you think that is useful for you, you can use it. But to answer your question, they have made it open source completely and they have no idea of making it as commercial.
Fine, fine. So I think there are no
Giri, one
more questions
question.
from audience. Yeah,
Yep,
please
yep.
go ahead.
Thank you for taking the session. First of all, we have just
Mhm,
started implementing Cypress in our project. So just wanted to know,
mhm,
like as you said, the basic knowledge of JavaScript is more than enough
mhm,
to implement
mhm,
this Cypress.
mhm.
But do you suggest directly jump into Cypress or learn first JavaScript, then go ahead with Cypress?
I would say you directly get into Cypress actually, because it's very simple logic. Okay, when we
Yeah,
started, yeah, when we started
even I, yeah, please go ahead.
sorry, yeah. So in
It's
at least like when I started Selenium, if you know one programming language, that's more than enough actually. So it's the same concept that will be coming across all different languages. If you are familiar with Java, the same thing will come in JavaScript as well. It's the same OOPS concept. Only thing is syntax will be different. That's it. But you will be able to understand more. So once you start drafting all your test cases using Cypress, right? Ultimately you will come to know about JavaScript as well. So that is what my personal experience is all about.
Yeah,
So
even
you don't
even
have to invest time. Yeah.
we have started from last 1.5 month, and it is pretty much like easy to understand the things and get it implement in our project. So just wanted to ask you one more thing: how we can
Mm.
get the connectivity with the database?
Okay. So when you say database, is it kind of a JDBC ODBC connection, or is it just an API call that you're talking about?
It's a API call at this moment.
You can definitely you can make use of it. You can directly make use of this particular API functionality that is available. So if you go and see, I'll just show you in the Cypress itself. You have a very good support for API connectivity. So
Hmm.
if you go here, Cypress API testing, right? There you go. Cool. So just go through this one. You'll be able to understand more actually. But I'll just quickly show you a simple code where you will be able to understand that as well. So if you see here, so these are post, delete, and everything. And you can
Okay.
just take all these kind of things actually directly. Write it as in a simple it block, and you will be able to take all the values as well over here, and then assign it to a simple constant file, and then make use of it in the later point of time like this.
That would be very helpful.
I know where you're coming from, because there'll be many test data that will be available in a database, or there might be a situation where you need to go and check whether a transaction is completed and it is located in the database. I mean, these are a couple of scenarios what I have seen. That is definitely possible through this particular Cypress itself, actually.
Okay. Thank you, Giri.
No problem at all, anytime.
Thank you so much for taking the sessions.
No worries.
And there's
I'm so glad.
Hello, Giri,
yeah,
Sachin
there's
here.
one more thing like generally if like you Giridhar is saying that the basic of JavaScript is more than enough to start with Cypress. Yeah, that's okay
Hmm,
to start working on the tool. But what I feel
hmm,
that the at least the good knowledge in any programming language helps you, right? Like in
yeah,
Java also, if JavaScript also. So learn more how much you can learn. So that will be better because you can write the better code. Okay, same thing is happening in the Java also. Like people like automation testers think that they no need to learn stream
hmm,
APIs or some Lambda functions. But if you learn it, your 5 lines of code can be converted into 1 line. That is much better, right?
right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so
Definitely,
keep
yes.
exploring more, keep learning more. So it is don't put the cap in beginning only that I will learn only this much. Then you'll never learn more, right?
Definitely,
So yeah.
definitely, yes. Definitely, yes. I totally agree with you. So, guys, this is the course that I was talking about where Vignesh has, taken from JavaScript as well as from Cypress perspective. You'll be able to understand. I don't know about how much it costs in India. Maybe you can just give it a shot and see whether it is cheap. If it is cheap, you can buy this actually. So he has given
Mm.
a very good, explanation about it.
Or
Can
people
you
can
please
wait
share the
for
link
some.
of this?
Cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely, yes. I can.
Looking forward
And
for more kind of session from your end, Giri. Thank you so much. Thank you, Amol.
Thank you, mate. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks,
okay,
Amod.
so I think
Thanks, Giri.
there
Can
will
I
be
ask one last question?
yeah, please
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, hi, Giri, Sachin here. So, like you talked about
Hey, Sachin.
this dashboard, dashboard, right?
Mm,
So,
mm,
what is the
mm,
page?
mm.
So, can you show one sample dashboard?
Definitely, yes. No worries at all. I can just log in and show you. But you need, so there are some plans that are available. You might need to purchase those plans. But again, I think, guys, can you please go on mute? Yeah, so this is the dashboard that I was talking about, Sachin. So you can create individual projects here as well. And when you open this one, you will be able to see all the test builds that have happened. So say, for example, there are 10 builds that has happened and 10 times the tests got executed. All those builds will be available here. I'll just show you one simple example over here, but I don't know, it's not there because I didn't use this one. But it is free for, 1 or 2 projects, such, and you can just give it a shot. Since I didn't use it for more than 30 days, it just got deleted actually. I'm so sorry about it. But it is quite easy to integrate as well. You can just directly go and see.
Okay, thanks, Giri. So, 1 and 2 project that we can use free, right? Surface?
Yeah. 1 or 2 projects, definitely you can see. That's what I've used here. These are the different builds. Since I didn't use it recently, it just got deleted actually. I'm so sorry about it. But
Yes,
when
fine.
you try it, it'll be very easy. It'll be very easy for you to do that.
Okay, apart from a dashboard, any other feature this Cypress community providing? Paid?
Rest everything are free actually from Cypress. Right from you code and the packages, and most of the things are free except this particular dashboard. But again, if your project is using Circle CI or Jenkins or something like that, see, end of the day when we are drafting our test cases, our goal is to put it in our CI/CD environment, right? So if your team is using Jenkins or Circle CI, it is absolutely easy. So you don't have to use this dashboard at all. This particular dashboard is to see the test results of your particular build and to execute your test cases in parallel. That's it. If you're not having any CI/CD environment, but if you're having that, you can make use in that itself. So that's that too for free. You don't have to pay anything for that actually.
Okay, thanks, Giri. Got it.
No worries at all, Sachin. Anytime.
Giri,
It
is it support for the big data? Like we can use Excel sheet in Cypress because we are hardcoding.
No.
So because we are
Unfortunately, no.
hardcoding the data, right? We are
Hmm,
hardcoding the data, right?
hmm, hmm.
So so taking data from the JSON file itself, right? Yes.
Yeah, we can do that from JSON file. We can do definitely, but connecting
Transferring
to the
the
big
big
data
data.
and no, I don't think so. If it is an API call, then we can do. But again, I'm not sure how you're talking. I don't know about big data. But if it is an API call or it's a JSON file that is going to get retrieved, we can use Cypress. But again, not to big data connectivity, something like that. I haven't seen that kind of.
Giri, another question is, another question is how we handle this window handles, pop-ups, and all here.
Okay, the window handler, that is a trade-off. We need to definitely consider that from Cypress perspective. It doesn't support multiple tabs at all. For sure, they are very clear about the trade-offs.
Yeah, we got it. For this pop-ups.
Yeah, definitely. Oh no, pop-ups, I think it can be handled. I haven't used that one, but multiple browsers definitely no, they don't support at all actually.
Means multiple tab, multiple window, it doesn't support.
No.
For
if you see here,
pop-ups, how it is? Like file upload, file download.
Yeah, that is what I showed you, right? There is a package to do that particular part. Yeah.
And
but again,
any other pop-ups?
If you're talking
like
about
the
the
authentication
browser
pop-ups. For example, if I click some links, I'll get some to, for example, comment section. Okay, so if I click something, I will get that pop-up with the comment sections or authentications like username, password, something. So those pop-up is considered as a window or some different thing. Cypress, how it will be.
Okay, that's really a good question. I haven't faced that personally. At least my application don't have that kind of an authentication. So if you want to know, you can just sorry.
Somewhere it will be there, right? Those pop-ups.
It will be there. Yeah, it will be there. I haven't used that one. Maybe you can just put a question in Giridhar, Cypress Giridhar, where someone can answer you actually. Because I don't want to give any, false answers. So that's why I'm just trying to think where you can just post this. You can post it in Cypress Giridhar actually about this particular question. Hello?
Yeah.
Can anyone hear me? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
You can post it in Giridhar to get that answer.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't answer your question.
No, actually, these are the things, real fact. Actually, Selenium, because so many people say developing one tool and launching, that is a big deal. But thing is, people will ask questions easily.
Definitely,
this will support, that will support, this will support, because one person will develop something and will launch and explain everything, and he will ask. But we need to consider this is kind of okay. Right, we got some scenario. Okay, this is
right.
Selenium also we are facing, like here also as Excel sheet, pop-ups and iframes, and for example, some desktop tool comes, some integration will be there. That's what I asked before going to Cypress tool. Our application, what is there? In our application, what and all is there? So everything we need to capture, then only we need to choose the Cypress.
Definitely. I totally agree. Yeah. That's right. Actually, even I would do when I'm just trying to choose a tool that I need to make sure that like it supports most of the components. Because
actually the manager side, 1 minute. For managers, how they expect actually automation. If it's true like this, Cypress is a one tool. I want to go with this because it supports easy, faster, everything. And if I show this, their view is different. Okay, first part is developing, then the scripts, then the execution, then the report. Okay, so manager, what will see, what is your report? Okay, a report is the main function for the report, logs, and what are the things they don't consider inside what is there and all. As for manager perspective, what is there inside? Nothing. No one will check what is there in your code, why you use if condition, else condition. They won't check. Only they will check with the end result, and the result how it is, what is the logs, for everything business perspective. These are the expectation from the management side. But as far as testing side or a test lead, okay, we do checks how our coding standards, everything. what it is required for one tool and how it will be. So everything, testers only we can think it. Testers are always developing those only. For outside of testers, we can say managers or leads, they will think only about the reports. Okay, so that is what if people will develop something, these questions will rise. Nowadays it will be there. Even if someone will develop tools, I used to ask questions only because we know really exactly what happens in Selenium. Same thing, it is available in this tool. Say Katlon, test project, so many things, right? So Selenium is the base. We can take the example and compare with other tools. This is what we call so many challenges in Selenium. Easily, they accept this also. That's what they can overcome those scenarios. Okay, we got some new scenarios. Yes, obviously, like that they can think that. Sorry for that, asking so many questions and breaking you like that. Don't think that.
No, absolutely, that
You
makes
gave
sense
nice.
because
No, you gave nice. What is that? Nice sessions. I'm really happy for that you gave session. But only thing is, uh, how you didn't, but we didn't understand that demo section. Okay, demo section means for you split it like Visual Studio, Eclipse one part, and IntelliJ or any PyCharm, whatever it is there. These are the editors because people 100% will what is that struggle because everyone handle with Eclipse, IntelliJ. Eclipse is the most part. The view how it is means my process structure is like this, and we use this. So once we go to Visual Studio, we don't understand what are the files, what is spec file, what is JS files, what is Docker file. We don't know. Even if you say Docker, you went to Cucumber. Even I understand. Oh, these are the three different framework. I thought so because you compressed with 1 hour, we need to tell everything. So in next section, you can elaborate like demo project with Eclipse. It is easy for us understand. Easily we can convert into Cypress.
Arun, actually, your point is good. Like people are generally used of Eclipse, right? So problem is that people are not coming out from their comfort zone. If you really think that IntelliJ is much better than Eclipse, when you see
No,
the
I'm
suggestions,
saying,
whatever IntelliJ is doing,
no, not only saying because people are using automation. People mostly we are using Eclipse now. Who all are going different Python or any JavaScript? They're using different studios. Okay, so basic thing is when they come into Java, when it comes for Eclipse is the main editor they use. Some people from starting only they learn JavaScript, Python or something. They use different editor. Okay, for example, if you go with Eclipse means there are so many challenges will be there. For example, you said to add plugins. Okay, so we come to know, okay, so the way is in Visual Studio is different way of importing the project. When go to for Eclipse, the way of different of importing projects. In IntelliJ, also same thing, we can import the project. If you, because where people will stuck means importing a project and understand the folder structure. This is the part because here it is we get the terminal easily. We get terminal in Eclipse where we'll get the terminal. We won't get it. Okay, if you use IntelliJ or if you use PyCharm, we get a terminal, right, for
no, you can get the
executing
terminal in
terminal.
Eclipse. You can get the terminal in Eclipse as well.
Yeah, that's
You
what
can,
I'm saying. Eclipse also, we need to install any plugins or any options. Maybe you get if you import Cypress, maybe internally we'll get terminal in. So, like, see, I use automation fully in Eclipse. So when we go to different editor, how we can means convert into different editor.
yeah, just to add one point, like in my company also, people use Eclipse, right? But whenever I need to take the pull or push or when I need to commit, I always use IntelliJ because there I can see like where the conflicts are easily and I can merge. That is much better in the IntelliJ or WebStorm compared to Eclipse. So yeah, it's all matters of choice. So if you know the tool, you can use it more properly or Yeah, so that is the thing.
Definitely.
So case integer
Definitely.
all
Yes.
are same, just the usage is different.
Definitely. Yeah. It's up to us actually. Whichever we feel comfortable, we can just take it, as part of our requirement. I've seen people who are using WebStorm as well. But some of the features I like with Visual Studio Code. Some things I like with WebStorm. So it's up to us to decide whichever you're comfortable, you can just take it. But I totally agree. I was not aware that, like most of the people who are in this particular forum will be from Eclipse background. So yeah, I'll take it as a feedback. Probably next time, Amod, we will just try to do a poll kind of a thing to understand what technology stack our audience are from, and based on that, we can take a call.
Sure, that we can do. So now I need to end this one. So thanks for joining everyone, and a special thanks to Giridhar who took his time and presented a session on a much demanded tool. I personally feel that this app is going to be must to have skill soon.
Yeah,
Definitely,
So
I
yeah,
hear
yeah.
nowadays is 1 minute. I hear nowadays the application comes in React and the AngularJS. The applications come developing React.js and AngularJS mostly. I see people are using this Cypress means or started with good, but because these are the concerns is not one by learning everything. Because in I see in abroad so many people using Cypress because started using because it interact with visuals testing also like apply tools, right? So so these other tools will come from there, and now here in Indian market also it is reaching so faster like Selenium, right? But thing is still I feel there are so many functionality need to be added like Selenium does and what is that Cypress not does. Like I ask so many things, right? So those things.
yeah, no
Cool.
problem. So yeah, so thank you everyone. I will inform for the next session.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks for a good session. Actually, this is really good.
Yeah.
This helpful for
Thank
starting.
you so
Even I
much.
Thank you so
the demo
Thank you so
session
much
is
for the session.
Thank you so much,
thanks.
Giridhar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very helpful.
Thanks
Cheers,
for
guys.
Amod
Thank you.
Mahajan. Thanks for
Thank
Amod
you.
Mahajan.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Everything.
Thank
Thank you, Arun.
thank you,
Yeah,
Amod.
thanks,
Thank
And
you,
thanks
Kiran.
so much, Giridhar. Thanks, Amit.
cheers, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Take care. Have a
Looking for the
safe,
next session.
safe weekend.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, we'll do something. Take
Yeah,
care,
yeah,
guys. Bye.
sure. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.
Yeah,
Bye. Take care.
yeah,
Bye.
yeah.